the monthly meeting of the Frankfurt Plant Board. It's Tuesday, April 18th, 2023 at 5 o'clock. We're meeting in the community room. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Member DeLong?
Here.
Member Keeban?
Here.
Member Mason?
Here.
Member Schneider?
Here.
Member Devin Mitchell?
Here.
We have a quorum. We're authorized to do business. First item is consider approving the minutes of the March 21st, 2023 board meeting. You all should have them in your packet. Does anybody have any changes or corrections? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item is consider accepting the financial statements for the month ending March 31st, 2023. Mr. Dent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Keeban. Good evening, everyone. Looking at page 17 of our board packet, what we're presenting tonight are financials through the first 9 months of the fiscal year. So FPB's fiscal year ends on June 30th of each year. So this is running through March of 23. What we have before you tonight is a statement of net position, our statement, our cash and investment schedule, debt summary, all of our revenues, expense, and change in net position for all three divisions and departments, and also statement of cash flows and check registers for our two most active checking accounts. I'd like to start on 17, looking for a minute at statement of net position. You can see as of March 31st, 23 on line 60 there, total assets just under $223 million. Against our liabilities of just under $98.2 million, leaving net position of just under $124.8 million, with your liabilities and net position equaling your assets at just under $223 million. I'd like to briefly talk about the financial performance of the plant board through the first 9 months. If you could turn over to page 22 of the board packet. This is the company-wide statement of revenue, expense, and change in net position. So this is where we bring all of the electric, water, telecom revenue against the operating and general and admin expenses for the whole company combined. The good news is that when you look at budget to actual, we are running right in line with what we expected. I believe when you look at our net contribution on the very bottom line there, line 340, you look at the third column versus the fourth column, that we are just $100,000 off of where we thought we would be on the net contribution for the year. So just 1% off. So that's good news. When you look at where we are year over year, you see a different story. Nothing that we didn't expect, but you are seeing a trend in higher expenses and relatively flat revenue. So we're having pressure. Mm-hmm. We're not immune to what we've seen in the economy at large, and also things specific to FPB when it comes to increase in expenses. So just overall, the trend is we do have pressure on the operating performance of the company, but we are in line with what we thought we would be for the first 9 months. I'd be glad to go in depth on anything or answer any questions you may have.
Do you have any questions of David?
Just, is there any area particularly that either extremely high in expenses or unusually flat in revenue that you wouldn't have expected?
No, everything, we saw all of this coming. I just think and I think the board and everyone's pretty informed about where we are. I think when you talk to the public at large, anyone watching, just to understand, we've been able to keep rates relatively stable at the plant board, and the pressure we're seeing on the expenses and the economy at large, we're not immune to that. So you're gonna see pressure on the need to have rate adjustments at some point. The largest thing is what we've talked about before, is we've seen a 9% year-over-year increase in wholesale power expense, which is not unexpected, but that's just to continue. Some have seen a lot larger increase year-over-year than that. So it's all expected, but I just think, as we move towards looking at the next year's budget preparation, these are just conversations we'll get more in depth on and kind of laying the groundwork for those. I don't want to act like everything's perfect. Budget to actual great, but trends are a little pressure.
On the electric expenses, we've got the storm expenses in there, and then what the FEMA money probably won't hit until next fiscal year, the reimbursement.
It does take quite a while for us to get that money back. So yeah, that is some offset that you'll see.
But that offset won't occur, and we won't see that revenue in this fiscal year.
I think my understanding is we would still be responsible for, I think it was about 15% of it and the rest, or maybe it was 13%, but anyway, the rest of it, there's the likelihood we'll get reimbursed. Again, that stuff's been approved. We'll turn in the stuff as fast as we can. We do have, as far as I'm concerned, I think we have almost all the documentation we need as soon as we're able to turn that in. The last time we went through the process, it took 2 years. Kind of from what I've heard from them, I don't think it'll take that long this time. But you're looking at about 400 and some thousand that will, 400 and maybe 410,000 we may be able to recoup.
The cities that helped us, do we pay them and then we get it back, or do they wait for their money the same as we do?
No, we pay them directly. That's one of our invoice charges
Okay.
that we turn in to FEMA
Okay.
as part of the thing. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for David or Vin? Hey, do we have a motion? We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of accepting the financials for the period ending March 31st, 2023? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Financials accepted. Thank you, sir. Public comment, anybody signed
Do
up?
not have anybody signed up.
Okay, Vin, it's your time, buddy.
All right. Well, we'll start with public information. And looks like Harvey's doing that tonight. So he'll provide our public information and marketing information for us.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ms. Lindsay is not here, so I'll do my best to replace her.
All right. Microphone.
All right, there we go. We've got a handful of partnership projects that we're working with groups in the city. We're working with the city of Frankfurt on their I-2 and Kentucky Distilled project. We're recording some spots in our studio tomorrow, or on Thursday rather, for that. The Capitol Expo is coming back, so we've been working with them. We're running commercials, covering their events leading up to the big event, and we'll have a booth down there at the expo promoting Next Band and other FPB services. Downtown Frankfurt has got their Derby celebration coming up, so we put together a spot for that. That's going to start running this week. We've been working with Bourbon on the Banks. They want to set up a spot for, it's going to be on a Saturday in the fall, so they want people to be able to watch college football, so we're working with them on getting a lounge set up for that. Farmers Market, we've got promotions with them, and going to have a booth for their Kids Day events. And then finally, Together Frankfurt, they're having an event for Earth Day this Saturday down at Ward Oats Amphitheater, and we'll be down there with a handout and LED light bulbs for that. So continue to work with all our local partners and spread the good word about the Plank Board.
Any questions for Harvey? Vin?
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move to the Network Operations Center with the director, Darren Rambo, and that is page 99 of your board package.
Good evening. Like Vince said, page 99 is your NOC report. It looks like in the month of March, we handled 6,749 phone calls, which is a little bit of an uptick from normal, by about 4,000 plus, just because of the outages and stuff. It was a busy time. On the locate side, we did 809 locates, and I looked earlier today. Just in the past 30 days, we're already 845. So warm weather's here, and things are getting busy. Which
Is that mainly landscaping related as opposed to home construction, or?
No, not it's just a lot of everything right now. There is some landscaping tickets and homeowners doing repair work in the spring, but a lot of large project stuff. It's just with this gas projects,
Yeah.
large projects, road work, everything. So this time of year we expect that, and we have a new locator that starts Monday. So after there'll be some obviously a good while of training, but after that we hope to be in much better shape. So thank you. Anything I can answer for you?
Questions?
No? Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Customer service?
Yep,
Yeah.
we'll go to the customer service supervisor. Cassie Estel will provide your customer service report. Again, that is page 101 through 105 in your board package.
Good evening, members of the board. As Vince stated, our regular board reports are in there. Happy to answer any questions you have about the normal reports. One thing I did want to mention for our customers that might be watching is we're doing our budget signups for residential customers for their utilities. So what that does is allow them to spread their electric and water cost over a year for their bills and pay a set amount for those services. We started our signups last week, so they can sign up on the portal, dependent upon their cycle right now, as well as with any CSR. And if people have questions about that, feel free to give us a call. But those signups have started, as well as the individuals that are budget customers. Their reconciliation month is May, and that's traditional. We switched that several years ago, but it's that time of year. It's hard to believe. So, any questions anybody has?
Yeah, Cassie, the folks that are on the budget, they're automatically renewed unless they opt out, correct?
Yes, sir, as long as they're at a zero balance. So the way the program is designed, it truly has to be at a zero balance. If you accidentally paid a wrong amount and still had a few pennies, it's not going to automatically renew you. It has to truly be at zero. However, if that were to happen, you can contact us and we can definitely get you set back up.
Good.
If a customer has a large credit, they automatically have that rolled into the next budget year and reduce their monthly that they
Okay.
pay to us, unless they choose to ask for that to be
Take it back.
refunded as
Okay.
well. Yes, sir.
All right.
And can you sign up anytime during the year, or is this really the only sign-up time?
This is the only sign-up time. Sign-ups are in April of each year, April and May is the reconciliation, and then the new budget starts for all cycles with their June due date.
Okay.
So it's the same time each year. And it is just open to residential customers. I'm not sure if I said that at the beginning, but just residential.
Any other questions for Kathy?
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Have a good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, next we will do telecom, and telecom superintendent Adam Hellard will give you that report. The information's in your board package on page 107 through 110.
Good afternoon. As Vince said, starts on page 107 with the customer penetration numbers there. Everything looks to be pretty much in order. The outage report is the next 2 page. All the outages were part of the windstorm that we had on March 3rd. And then page 110 is the trouble call for the month, and it's up more, but most, if you look at it, it's drops, which were related to the storm as well. Next span, we have 5 areas we're getting ready to turn on. Twilight Trail, part of Bentwoods, Wilkerson Boulevard, Riley Road, that area. Crews are working away. Everything's kind of moving along pretty good. So, one thing I almost forgot to mention, we have plans to install the fence around the satellite farm by the reservoir. So I just want to let the board know that we had that in the works. It's a budgeted item. It came in under budget. So we'll proceed with that in the coming weeks.
Questions for Adam?
Is
Thank
that
you,
the
sir.
last thing on the project?
There's still some landscaping and paving to do, but we were trying to get the fence in so they can, have the boundary for the paving and things of that nature.
Great, thank you.
Okay, next we will go to the electric department, and we'll start with the electric superintendent, Scott Hudson. And your electric report is page 111 through 114 in your package.
Good evening, Board. As you turn to page 111, you will see this report, this monthly report here does not reflect anything from the March 3rd windstorm. Typically, the way that works, APPA and all utilities, when there's a big storm such as that and there's outages that last from more than 24 hours in the storm, they don't really keep track of those. So these numbers don't pertain to those numbers, but these are regular outages for the rest of the month. So as you turn to page 111, you'll see that our SAIDI numbers are still running as normal as 26.342. Page 112 is once again, our pie graph. It shows the different percentages of the outages. Page 113 shows the actual number for those percentages. And then 114 will show you our top 10 outages for the month of March, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Are we, as a result of all the storm damage and repairs, and then I know y'all had to do a lot of things that weekend temporary and then go back, where are we at in terms of kind of, if life's ever normal, where are we at in terms of back to kind of where we were?
Oh, we were, let's see,
as far as permanent,
permanent repairs, we were done with all permanent repairs that following Thursday.
Okay.
For electric, we were. Yes.
Okay.
I think cable was done also. They were done that following Thursday.
Okay.
So,
Because I know y'all did a lot that weekend just trying to get people something to back
Yeah.
on, so,
yes.
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll let Travis give us an update on the community solar project.
Good evening, everyone. Real brief, AMI, we're kind of business as usual, nothing really new since last board meeting. Our internal folks are installing meters as we get them. We're getting a few hundred a month, so we plan to continue to do that just with our internal folks, continue to deploy the system. Reached a little bit of a milestone. We crossed 10,000 electric installations, so that gets us almost to halfway, where it's 21,500 total on the electric side. Community solar, I talked to the Solar Energy Solutions yesterday. They've got their site work contractor and their fence contractor are both ready to go. They're waiting on the land disturbance permit. I asked them how that process was going. They said they don't expect any problems. They think everything's going okay. It just takes a little while to work through the process. So as soon as they get that, I think they're going to be ready to start moving dirt out here and get started. The tariff, we've got it where we think nearly a draft ready for the board's review. Just waiting on the big piece is the cost component. But the way we structured it is, something similar to what KU does. The customer can do a monthly charge or buy a chunk up front. The monthly charge, you would buy blocks of 250 watts. Again, that's similar to KU. That's kind of the approach we went with it. Of course, if the board had other ideas in mind, we of course can go ahead and start integrating those. But again, I think the draft is nearly ready.
So will we see that at the May meeting?
That is the plan, yes, to have
And
it at the
then
May
that way
meeting.
we could start marketing and selling, or?
Yeah, I think Kathy has been getting the word out somewhat softly a little bit on that, just because we don't know the price for sure. But I think she is kind of gearing up to start spreading the word. And of course, that's the big thing everybody's going to ask is what is the cost. So we're a little bit handcuffed on that, but yep, that is the plan.
Now, as part of that plan include sort of an equitable aspect for access for low-income folks?
We don't have currently included. Of course, we can add that to the tariff, a specific carve-out. Either we could designate a certain amount of the facility just for those folks, or if you wanted to look at like a separate cost, we can include that. I don't have that in the first draft, but if that's what the board would like to do, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, I'd certainly, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. I know there are other utilities that have addressed that in some manner.
Sure, yeah. I know specifically many will reserve a amount of capacity. As far as what they do in terms of cost, I need to do some research, but I can have that ready by when we look at the draft.
How does that work in terms of that low income can purchase, or that people can buy and then give theirs to low income, or how does it?
That we did include something similar. We talked about, I think KU calls theirs gifting shares.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to include that in ours, where someone could go in and gift, they could buy the capacity and then gift to a nonprofit, or I guess whoever they so choose. But that was something we were going to try and work in. Yep.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, one of the potential policies is around transferability or non-transferability.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of imagining that there might be a situation where someone actually is still paying but is not able to take advantage of it because they've moved, etc.
Right.
And that might be an opportunity to have a pool, a funding pool to help fund. I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah. The way we had approached it, of course, we can change it however the board would like, but the transferability, we were more looking at if you bought a one-time capacity. So take the KU example, you paid the $800 up front. That would be transferable because you would need some kind of reasonable out. I hate to call it that way, but you would, it would not be good to be in a 25-year agreement with no chance to transfer. So we were looking more, if you did the one-time purchase, you could make a transfer on that. The month-to-month, we included it would be a 12-month term. So, that's not too much of a risk if you're just in a month-to-month up to 12 months, that if you didn't want to continue, then you would just let them terminate and they would go back in the bucket.
If I could make a suggestion, since you all don't have the draft to look at, we can provide, again, we're trying to finalize different pieces, provide you that draft, and then go through and have a lot of those conversations because I think we're kind of at a
Yeah.
disadvantage trying to have the conversation here. We weren't ready for an agenda
Yeah.
item.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that might speed it up for everybody, but that's just
Yeah.
a suggestion.
That would be good, everybody could look at it and
Yeah.
start, you know, you can get everybody's comments, questions, and start building
Yeah.
things in when you bring it to us.
Yeah, we can send you what we have now,
Yeah, that'd
be great.
and even it'll just kind of have a blank there for the rate because,
Right.
like I said, we're still working on it. But we could at least start. You know, you could look at the terms and
Yeah.
see what makes sense or what doesn't, and kind of give us some direction there.
Okay.
Yep.
Jason, is that okay with you all?
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I will give a SEPA update then. The report is pages 115 through 117 in your packet. You'll notice for the month of February, we cleared $54,420. So for the calendar year, that's 168,993. And if you look at the chart on the next page, you'll notice for the first 2 months of the year, our revenue is down on that compared to last year, but the market prices are down. So you'll probably see that lower than what we had last year. Last year was the best year we've ever had, but certainly market prices were extremely high. So anyway, the last page of the report just gives you year over year as we normally show it to you. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you have on the SEPA report.
Any questions for Vint?
And if there's none on that, I will turn it over to Gary for KYMEA report.
Yes. KYMEA had another meeting for our requirement, particularly called a working group for the new rate for next year. Basically, I want you to know the simple word is they plan to increase the rate. Put it this way, the ECA currently $6.75 per megawatt hour.
Right.
They plan to move that into the base rate from the July 1st. On the top, they're looking for roughly 7%, even higher than that. I had some disagreement on that, but finally I kind of agree. Is because currently the cash level from 21 million become right now around 9 maybe in this less than 1 year operation, and their target is to make at least 40-day cash on hand, which is a reasonable expectation, because below that they might have to borrow money for the cash flow. So basically, they are looking for is we forecast what's the cost next year. That's a very challenge. The truth is, in today's market, really depends on natural gas, coal, or the market price. Nobody really know exactly. So we kind of agree, say, okay, to hike at least additional 7%, or if you roll back completely no ECA from rate to rate is almost 20%, the difference. But we put some kind of a condition, say, but no more than 45 days.
Okay.
So you can increase, right now is 36 day, move to 40 day, but no more than 45. If they have a 2 months continually forecast 2025 June 30th, more than 45 day, 2 months continually, then they start to refund money to each member. That's the kind of things that we work on that. Most likely, I think they will approve that in April meeting. I just make sure I update you, let you know ahead of time. That's the things we look at, yes.
So with the 40-day limit, the hard 45-day limit, if it goes, if their capital, if their cash on hand exceeds that for 2 months in a row, it'll essentially be the reverse of what we had to do earlier. We'll get the discount instead of having to charge more, and that'll get passed along to our ratepayers, correct?
The cash will come back to
Yes.
plan board
Yes.
monthly. They probably have a 1 month delay,
Right.
usually energy we use is
Yes.
last month. So, but in that time, you can to make that decision.
Yeah.
Based on that condition.
Okay.
But at least cash will come back to
Okay.
here, then you can make that decision, yes.
I think, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I'm sure we would, if that came back, we would,
I thought we made that decision. That it would
well,
go back.
we made the decision for now, but, I think if we get the money back, then, I think we'd certainly go ahead and send that back.
Pass it back in.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that was the only
But if you
question.
have any common question, that's most likely at this month's meeting, QIMEA have all requirement committee and also board meeting in the next week. That's the most likely they will approve that. That's kind of discussing. But any question, I'm happy to answer that. Yes.
Any questions for Gary?
Okay.
I think it's about what we've
What we
feared,
thought it
not
was gonna
feared, but we thought all along is things aren't going back down. I mean, that's the market nationwide, so. Yeah.
Okay, next we'll move to the safety department with the safety director, John Lyons.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Safety report starts on page 119 and runs through page 120. For the month of March, I'm happy to report no OSHA recordables occurred. On our vehicle accidents, we did sustain one minor accident. One of our telecommunications vans was actually pulling out of a parking spot, caught the neighboring car's bumper cover. Very minimal damage. Damage was repaired to the neighboring car. No damage to our vehicle, sir. No employee injuries. Happy to answer any questions.
I always like the ones where the wall moved into us. That's
I
always-
wish, sir, I wish.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next we will move to the water distribution department with Superintendent Brian Bourne. And that is on page 121 and 123 of your board packet.
Yep. Good afternoon, Board, Mr. Chairman. The Water Distribution Monthly Reports 121 through 123. We installed 9 new services, had 2 main breaks, and we had 1 outage. Our construction crews were working on a line replacement project on Sandbar Lane, and we've also started our annual flushing program, which is very important to our water quality and checking our fire hydrants. The other thing I wanted to bring up, I wanted to say thanks to Ray Kenny with Emergency Management, the Frankfort Police Department, the State and City Road Department for their help with traffic control on the East-West Connector. I also wanted to thank JC and our Safety Department for us working in a safe work zone. I also want to thank Kathy Lindsay for keeping people informed and Leanne for bringing food to the guys. That was a tough situation, making repairs out here on the connector, and we got it taken care of. So.
I know you all worked all through the night and then
Yeah,
some. So.
yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. So we've been busy. So,
Yeah.
So, got any questions I can answer? Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, next is David Billings, the Director of Water.
Talk a little bit about the reservoir. Of course, the spring is here. The contractor's going to be back shortly. Plant the remaining trees that need to be planted. Paving is planned for mid-May. At one point, the board said something about having a open house or a ribbon cutting. I don't know if you wanted to do that now at the end of spring or wait till the decision is made with the clubhouse and kind of wrap it all into one. So I just wanted to bring that up, and it's the board's pleasure.
What do y'all want to do?
Doesn't matter to me, whatever y'all want to do.
When would be, quote, the best time?
After the paving is done, would be my recommendation.
And that'd probably be when, June?
I would think mid-May.
Mid-May?
Yeah. So we're talking about next month.
Okay.
Or I'm fine if you want to wait till a decision made on the clubhouse and whatever we're going to do up there, just kind of do it all at once.
And it probably is, just talk about it real briefly without taking any action or anything. Adam, you had mentioned that we're going on with the, putting the fencing around the dishes.
Yes.
Which, if we weren't proceeding with the clubhouse, we don't need to do that.
Right.
If we were to keep the facility closed. But I think, we've not voted on it yet, but I think it's kind of been the assumption that in the budget, we were gonna talk about some restoration, opening of the clubhouse, which means the paving and the dishes and all those things are all part of that, so. So wanna look for something in May, we could work something out.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
get Kathy involved. She's good at that.
Okay,
Right.
thank you, sir.
Okay, and next we will do the water treatment plant report with our Superintendent Brandon Bowers.
How we doing on chemicals, buddy?
What's that?
We go buy any chemicals or?
We buy them about several times a week. Good evening, everyone. For the month of March, the water treatment plant treated 224,606,000 gallons of water for an average daily production of 7.24 million gallons per day. Lock 4 averaged 10,695 cubic feet per second for a daily average of 6.9 billion gallons a day. And there was 5 inches of rainfall recorded in the watershed this month. Now, answer any questions if you got any.
Questions? Nope. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, that wraps up our operations report.
Thanks, Vin.
Yes, sir.
Action items, item 5.1, consider approving the Roku distribution agreement amendment. Harvey?
Thank you. Staff recommends approval of the Roku distribution agreement amendment. Nextband Stream, which is our app-based video offering, is currently available on Apple, Android, and Amazon Fire. The last platform that we've yet to support is Roku, which by some estimates is about 40% of the install base in the U.S. This agreement would allow FPB to deploy our app on Roku devices. There's no startup or recurring cost to FPB. However, Roku does require operators who distribute apps on their platform to remit a bounty to Roku for any customer that signed up for a video package on the Roku device itself. Staff feels and Roku agrees that the number of customers who sign up for a video service through the app will likely be very small if it occurs at all. FPB decides at any time to remove the app from the Roku platform, there's no penalty. Staff attorney has reviewed the agreement and it meets with his approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on this item.
And there's no charges, cost, or anything associated with that, correct?
Only if a customer is to sign up
Right.
for the service through the app. Yeah, that's correct.
So the other option is if they go online.
Yeah, they
to
can
the
call
plant
us.
board.
Right, they can call us and go online and order it, and there's no bounty. It's only if they go through the app. So we figure we'll continue to get the orders through the same channels that we get today for the most part. Or if they're already an existing customer, they can just go on and use it, and there's no cost.
Yeah.
You know, if they already subscribe to the service, they can just download the app and use it, and there'd be no cost to us
But
or to the user.
there's gonna really be no way if they happen to stumble upon it and sign up on the app.
Mm-hmm.
There's no warning that, like, you know, you could do it through the plant board.
Yeah, I mean, we basically, the way the agreement is written is we have to give them, the user, a path to order through the app, essentially, if they were to land there. But if they decide at that point to pick up the phone, then we would not be on the hook for that. It's only if they sort of follow that whole buy flow from the app to a website and then place the order to where Roku sees that transaction.
We have some type of announcement on our website or something.
Once we get it launched, absolutely, yeah. In fact, we have it today where it says coming soon. It's said that for several months, and it's taken some time to get this agreement done, but
Yeah.
we've had customers ask about it, so we'll be excited to have it.
I think it's a slam dunk because I
Yeah.
set up Next Band for my mother a few months ago, and she couldn't use a Roku, so we got a Google. And
Right.
so this will just open that up for customers. So.
Any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approved.
Thank
you,
you,
sir. Next, item 5.2, consider award of bid invitation number 1781 for a bucket truck to Terex in the amount of $446,120. And I might point out, just one of the most disturbing things about this is the lead time to get a bucket truck. I mean, we're now in what, the 2-year range, year and a half to 2 years.
This one was at the 2-year range.
Yeah.
Yes. As he said, staff prepared a bid. Of course, we advertised the bid and we sent the bid to the 3 big companies who actually build bucket trucks. And you can see we had one response for a bid. This company right here, Terex, they're the ones with the 2-year lead time. One of the other companies, talking to them, was a 5-year lead time. And then the other company just had no desire to bid or quote a truck. So, as he said, the truck we're replacing has roughly about 400,000 miles on it. It was included in this year's budget with a price of $320,000, but you can see that that's not going to be adequate. Plus, with delivery time, the payment for this truck would not hit until about the 24-25 year budget. So we're asking for approval to replace the bucket truck that was budgeted for this year for the price of $446,120.
And one thing I'd asked Scott earlier is, as we're coming up on the budget, if we see we've got more truck needs coming up, do we want to go on and include and authorize, especially if we don't have to expend it immediately, to go on and place additional orders? If we're looking at 2-year lead times, if we got a truck coming up in 2 years that we need, we've got to order it now. I mean, that's because from what you told me, Scott, we don't see this abating any.
Now, talking to the vendors, much like everything else, lead times are way out there. Prices are escalated. They're not going to come down anytime soon. We had a meeting today with a vendor for utility supplies and talking about pole mount transformers and underground transformers and what have you not. Lead times for those are still astronomically way out there, and prices are just, I mean, it's, to buy a transformer now, it's unreal. You can't fathom the price of a transformer. So, you know, I think that's just the industry standard right now. I hope everybody doesn't get used to it and keeps it that way. I'm hoping eventually, maybe years from now, everything will calm back down. But, you know, without having a crystal ball. And
one from what you had told me was that a lot of big utilities have huge standing orders with these companies of 300-400 trucks a year. I mean, they've just placed an annual order that they're ordering that many just in blocks, and they're taking up all the capacity. I mean,
and that's a whole lot of what it is. And
Yeah.
there's one company who does, they specialize, I don't want to say they specialize, they do have a lot of the bigger accounts. So they do, when the year and a half ago when people started talking about supply chains and issues going across the board of things, vehicles and utility equipment and stuff like that, everybody started placing orders just like they did for utility equipment. And of course, and that's part of the reason why you're in the situation you are now is everybody, I don't want to say hoarded, but they went ahead and placed all their orders in, and that's the reason why a lot of the supply is low. So,
You know, John, you know, one of the things you're horrified by the 2-year lead time. I'm not thrilled with the, 45% over the budgeted price. And I think this ties back into something David Denton said earlier when he was going over the financials. I mean, this is where it's hitting us square in the face. And, Scott, you telling me that the company that had the 5-year lead time, they wouldn't even quote us. They would quote us a price, but it wouldn't be a guaranteed price.
Yeah, it was no guaranteed price.
This what we're doing here is a guaranteed
yes.
price.
When this truck gets in here 2 years, this is the price we pay for the truck.
And they would tell us after 5 years what they wanted to.
Yes, and the other one was with the other one 5 years. What they do is they give you a bid or quote, and it's a placeholder in line. So at the end, closer to the end of the 5-year duration, then you have a slot that they will actually build you a truck.
Mm-hmm.
And then they negotiate. They don't negotiate the price. They tell you what the price is.
They tell you what it is, and you'll either buy it or not.
Yeah, so either you buy it or don't. So,
Okay.
so it's kind of a gamble there. So,
Right.
Have any other questions for Scott other than this an incredible deal?
I wish I could build bucket trucks, but I can't. So.
Mr. Chairman's order, I would consider making a motion. Make a motion to approve bid invitation number 1781 for the bucket truck.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Good
Well,
luck on
thank
your
you.
truck, sir.
Well, thank you.
2 years from now.
2 years from now.
Number 5.3, consider approval of extension agreement utilizing coronavirus state and fiscal recovery funds. Gary?
Yes, I probably ask someone help me to go to detail.
I don't mind. I can help you, Gary.
Okay, David. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this was back in December of 21. You recall that the Frankfurt Plant Board went into an interlocal agreement with the Franklin County Fiscal Court. And in that interlocal agreement, the purpose of it was to help for infrastructure project extending broadband service to underserved and unserved areas of Franklin County. In the interlocal agreement, it mentioned extension agreements, that when we came time to actually start the project, we would go into individual extension agreements for the 11 areas in the county that we'd be working on. So this is an extension agreement before you tonight, asking to approve it. If approved by this board, it will move to the fiscal court for approval. And then once those are the approvals, we can go in and look at approving the actual grant agreement from Kentucky Broadband. Office of Broadband, and KIA.
So there's, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, David, there's no changes to what we've looked at here already. We sent in the modifications, they reviewed it, sent it back to us, then they prepared a final document and sent it back to us, and now fiscal court needs to review it, and we sent it back, so we're basically going through and reapproving everything again.
Yes,
Yep.
and this is the piece between FPB and the fiscal court on
Right.
how this money, this cost sharing, the $5 million from FPB and $3 million from the fiscal court will work.
And we've advised the judge's office that this is coming back down, that this is nothing new, it's what we told them was coming, but this is reaffirming for the third time. So, so do we have any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll move.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approved. Item 5.4, consider approval of, how do you pronounce that?
Carasoft.
Carasoft quote for upgrade of FPB's internal phone system.
Yes, so our internal phone system today is reaching end of life. We purchased it around 10 years ago. It was the standard, large upfront capital expenditure. You buy the equipment, and then there was reoccurring support that we have even to this day. So, manufacturer, we've been informed we will lose technical support, and which is not a position we really want to be in. So proposal is we've gone through and looked at, found Carasoft deal with Genesis on the state price contract. We're asking the board to, you can approve this quote, it's through 5 years. Of course, they will invoice us each year. So we're moving from a CapEx system to more of an operating type expenditure. This is going to be a monthly expenditure we have. We'll break this full amount of the quote up over the 5-year period as it lands. It's going to bring a lot of internal benefits to the company and operations, and it's also going to be a lot of additional functionality for the customer. So I really think it's a better overall solution. It's a cloud-based solution. All kinds of good stuff in the agenda item, but we're asking the board to, if you approve this path forward, then we'll just, the procurement's already done and ready to go. We'll just ask Gary to sign off on the final invoice for this year, and we'll move forward.
And make sure anybody watching understands this is for our own internal phone system. Our regular retail phone customers, this has nothing to do with their operations or systems at all. This is our internal system.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have any questions for David? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And I think you mentioned it's approved. I think you'd mentioned they're going to run parallel on this, installing it, and so in terms of any disruptions or things like that for customers, it'll run parallel as we cut over.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The cloud-based solution will be built in a separate environment that will test and hopefully minimize as many disruptions as possible to customers that would be contacting FPB directly. Yeah.
Item 5.5, consider approving end of COVID-19 Public Health and National Emergencies Amendment for FPB's health plan. Hello, Ms. Brown.
Good evening, board chair and members of the board. On Monday, January 30th, 2023, the Biden administration announced that both the National Health Emergency and the Health and Human Services Public Health Emergency will end May 11, 2023. A copy of the amendment is located on page 153 of the detailed pages. Effective May 11, 2023, services that will directly affect FPB's health plan include, but are not limited to, COVID-19 vaccinations will only be covered at zero cost to the plan member if the vaccination services is performed at an in-network healthcare provider. COVID-19 vaccination services received by an out-of-network healthcare provider will be processed at the out-of-network cost-sharing level. COVID-19 testing will no longer be at zero cost to the member and will require cost sharing such as co-payments or subject to the deductible depending on which health plan the member is enrolled. Special enrollments and extension timeframes for employee benefits will also be terminated on May 11, 2023. However, the plan intends to review everyone's case that took advantage of this relief provision and determine an appropriate termination date. In August of 2021, the board approved to extend 80 hours of max of additional paid sick leave for employees that needed time off for COVID-19 related absences. With the ending of the other COVID-19 national health provisions and emergencies, the recommendation is to discontinue the APSL. Staff asked the board to approve amendment end of COVID-19 public health and national emergencies with effective date May 11, 2023. In addition, staff asked the board to approve discontinuing the APSL 80 hours on June 30th of 2023.
And I think when we had the agenda meeting on Thursday, John and I were on, and Michelle basically was able to tell us that she went back and looked at, especially people like cable installers, the people that are in other people's homes that are exposed, were able to look at anybody that was taking sick leave who'd been affected, and John brought up the fact of at least going out to the June 30th.
Correct.
To give people that, yeah.
And I think, Michelle, what you had said was, it wasn't necessarily our cable installers that were using, and the folks who were out in people's homes. That wasn't the group that was using this for the most part. It could have just been any random employee, just like any of us.
Right.
So that's, I think we extended to the end of the fiscal year. I don't think it's going to be a huge cost for us, and I think it gives them a little more landing time. So,
and I wanted to compliment, just at this point, Gary, you and your whole staff, because back whenever all this started, when COVID started, 3 years ago?
Yep,
March
3 years ago.
20, yep.
I know the board had confidence in your staff and gave you all some pretty broad discretion to do what you need to do. And I think you all have done a tremendous job bringing the whole agency through all this, because it was a lot of unknowns and a lot was going on, so appreciate it. Now back to the motion. Does anybody have any questions for Nichelle?
I don't know if you've got one.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the discontinuance of the COVID-19 changes as described by Michelle.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
I think we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Informational items, Mr. General Manager.
I don't have any.
Two items Ms. Poe reminded me. One, that we were going to move the June board meeting to the 27th at 5 o'clock. I think she had communicated that to you all a week or so ago, wasn't it? Because Gary had some scheduling and some other things, so it'd be 1 week later on the 27th. And then our budget meeting is the 31st at 1 o'clock.
That's
May 31st
31st.
at 1 o'clock.
usually
What-
can get it done in the afternoon if,
BYOS, bring your own snacks and
yeah. Good time.
go be a party, yeah.
Right.
And again, David does a great job. You'll get the draft in advance. If you see it, you have questions, whatever, feel free to communicate directly to David, ask him questions. If there's issues you want to get resolved, things that need to be in there, that you want to confirm is in there, explanations. I think we'll kind of do it like we've done in the past. Each department will present, not a huge dog and pony show. Talk about, maybe things that they got coming up, things that need to be addressed. We'll kind of go through the key variables, salary, some of those things up front, healthcare, and then just kind of go through everything, and then capital, and then just take it apart from there and see what you all want to do. But feel free, once you get the draft, if you have questions, call David, call Gary, say, I need to understand this, I need more information. So when we get there that day, they've got the answers that they can share with you or resolve your issues beforehand. So, any old or new business to address? Oh, a late breaking item, sir?
That's something we've talked about before. Our continued partnership with water fountains.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yes. I think we've budgeted about $15,000 for the last several years for water fountains.
Yes.
Went back and looked at them. Gippy Graham Pavilion, that cost the water department about $6,500. Dolly Graham cost us about $3,600, and East Frankfort Park cost us about $7,000. As you may or may not be aware, Second Street School has asked us to participate with what they've got going on down there. Wanted to bring that to the board's attention to see how you wanted staff to proceed. We have $15,000 budgeted. We think we can get it done this year, and then moving forward, I'd like to reduce the budget from $1,500 to $7,500 a year.
I think, as you all know, we got some information earlier, and I think, of course, Jason, you and Catherine and John live downtown, and apparently that Second Street playground is, I mean, it's a park.
It's a
not
park.
just a
It's a
school,
park.
it's a park.
It's literally a park. I mean, you know, the you know, I know they've really upgraded Dolly Graham,
Yeah.
but especially before Dolly Graham, I think a lot of people on that side of Capitol Avenue especially would take their kids there in the evenings and stuff. And, you know, David, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the way we've kind of always done it with these things is the plan board will provide the labor, and the cost gets split, the materials get split 50-50 between us and the requesting entity,
The
correct?
requesting entity would get billed for half the materials,
Right.
and the plant board's responsible for the other half materials and
the labor, whatever
installation
labor involved. Okay.
and some maintenance thereon.
Yeah,
So
right. Yeah.
the only the only way that this is different, these have been city projects, and now this is a public school. So
Mhm.
that's the. That's
But what was it, several years ago, we put water fountains in the public schools.
we talked about it.
We did, didn't we?
We put it in a few.
We had a
Well,
few.
we didn't put one
Yeah.
in Second Street, I don't think.
Yeah, we did Frankfurt Independent and the county schools.
Yeah.
Close to 13,000 each.
Yeah.
And those projects were complete.
Yeah.
So,
We've done this sort of thing before,
Yeah.
and then, like I said, I think this really does, like I said, it does blur the line of it. It really isn't just a school playground,
Right.
You know, it really is. It really is used by the community after hours, especially so, and during the summertime when they're not in school. So
and for all kinds of reasons, we want people to drink water, and we want them to drink our water.
that's right.
Which is the
That's
best
right.
way.
That's right. That's right.
Real quick, just a clarification, the prices you're giving per park, that was for maintenance and the water, or what was that?
That was the cost to the plant board for half of the materials and installation.
Okay, so that was just equipment, there was not the actual water usage?
No,
Oh, no,
these entities have a meter installed and they're responsible for the water.
They will
thank
pay
you.
for the water.
Thank
And
you.
apparently on this one, they're gonna have to bring the water from the school out to the, I guess.
Yeah,
the hookup.
I think they're gonna come off of
not
a
like
bridge
the
street for
Is
this
that right?
one. Yeah.
Okay.
So the three of you that are downtown, do y'all wanna make a joint motion, or how do y'all wanna do this?
Whatever. You know. Actually, Jason has young kids.
We,
so
we are there constantly, they're younger, so yeah, it's gonna be a good playground.
Yeah.
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll make the second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? You'll communicate to Second Street, we're all in?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we're okay with proceeding forward with reducing the budget.
Well, you have to talk to Mr. Dent about that.
7,500. Well, that's what I'm gonna propose, if that's,
Right.
okay.
We're not at that phase yet, we can't act on that.
We'll talk about that.
Just getting direction.
Okay, Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, if it's in order, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61A10-1B for deliberation of future acquisition of real property. Also for under KRS 61A10-1C, discuss pending or proposed litigation regarding property, cost recovery, and products matter. 61A10-1G to discuss specific proposal, if openly discussed, jeopardize the siting, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business. And under 61.810.1M to discuss infrastructure records that expose a vulnerability through the disclosure, the location and configuration of a public utility critical systems exempted from disclosure under the Open Records Act of Kentucky, and discuss the selection, and under 68.110.1N to discuss the selection of a bidder for the award of a contract. I think Hans got another exception in on me this month.
That's the short motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor of going into closed session for, as described, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're going into closed session. Come back in 5 minutes. come out of closed session?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're out of closed session, back in open session. Defer to Mr. Snyder for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion. First off, on item 1 is discussion of closed session. I would move that we accept the settlement offer as proposed during the closed session. Go ahead.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So we got a motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's adopted.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I also would like to make a motion when, in reference to items 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 that were all discussed in the closed session. I would make a motion to direct staff to proceed as directed during the closed session.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you all.